Once again, welcome everyone to the sixth stream in the Road to Success speaker series. I want to thank everyone for once again taking the time out of the schedule to be here with us today. My name is Lucas. I'm an enablement specialist here at ShopMonkey, and I'll also be kicking off today's event. For those who may be joining us for the first time, I'm a lifelong automotive enthusiast who just really enjoys watching and also talking about how the automotive industry is just always evolving and growing. And so it's really exciting to be part of a company like ShopMonkey, who, we have a mission to help other shops and business owners thrive. Now, this series has been put together with the goal of simply helping other shop owners and employees across the industry by addressing popular topics and sharing best practices. This topic today is really exciting because we actually have some registrants or guests who are joining who are not shop owners. They want to be shop owners in the future. And this could be a really exciting topic to get into that of what that can look like for someone in the future. Now, here at ShopMonkey, we have some amazing customers that share the same passion of wanting to help others throughout the industry. And we hope you just walk away with some great information from today's session. This series does bring shops from various verticals of the automotive industry together to share experiences and best practices. And just as a reminder, in our last stream, we had Will Helton from University Auto and Tire present on investing in your customer. So that was an amazing session where Will had talked about what investments shops should be making into their customers and how that can translate into investments that customers make back into their vehicles based on that relationship. So really cool episode. If you did not see it, if you missed out on that stream, be sure to check it on our YouTube page. You can catch that episode and all of our other previous episodes in this series as well. Now, for today, once again, our sixth stream of this series, we have Brad Rhodes to present this topic of going from 500 to 500,000 in 4 years. Brad, thanks again for taking the time to be here with us today, and also great to see you again. I'm going to kick this over to you for some intros and let us know how you got into the industry, and then we'll dive into the rest of today's topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone, I'm Brad, and I'm the owner of AutoObsessions here in Indiana, and basically I've been in the industry for quite some time. I actually started my very first job when I was 18 at Circuit City. So a lot of people, know what Circuit City is, and then they obviously had their demise. So I knew that this was something that I was passionate about. So I knew that I was definitely going to pursue this as a career. I ended up, following that dream into Best Buy just because that was the next segue to where I needed to be. I worked for Best Buy for 9.5 years. I started actually my LLC in 2015. So when I was still at Best Buy, I knew that eventually I wanted to own my own company. I knew that there is an opportunity here in my area for a type of shop that I kind of started and envisioned. So as that whole kind of process evolved through the struggles of everything, through working at Best Buy, I knew that eventually I was going to land here. Didn't know what I was going to call it, didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that that was the goal. So we opened our first location in 2019. I knew that there was a location that I saw that I was like, okay, cool. I was there for 1 month, got into a new location, and that's basically the location that I'm here. During that whole process, we were planning a wedding and, deciding on how to plan a wedding, quit my job and open a shop and build the shop. And you just kind of went through that whole process. And with the support of my wife, I definitely wouldn't be able to do it without, that support, which is something that we'll have to talk about a little bit later. And then we remodeled the location, moved over. The one that we're in now in April of 2022. And kind of at the same time was then also, having a child. So we definitely had ups and downs and struggles. And we went through many different avenues of how do we capture customers? How do we, maintain a successful business while also being able to focus on family time? So, I think this would be a good opportunity to kind of, answer some of those questions for people, just because I do think we went through a lot. And I think, we kind of showed what we can do if we stay focused.
Sounds like a really busy few years, but yeah. No,
and I don't know when it slows down. Somebody said, hey, eventually you can just work, but I don't know when that happens.
Yeah, no, that's great though, Brad. Thank you for the quick intro there. And I think just from a contextual standpoint, for those who are joining it, I know there was a couple that had commented during registration that, you want to be shop owners in the future. You're thinking about it. It's something you're aspiring to. This is really cool just to see the context of like, you didn't get this from someone and you haven't kind of been around it your entire life. You went from, tech sales retail to, hey, this is a goal of mine. This is where I want to get to. So yeah, really excited. We're going to get into those topics in a second of what we're covering today, but tell us a little bit about Auto Obsessions before we start. I want to talk present day. What is Auto Obsessions? Kind of what's the scope of your work, time in business? I know we kind of touched on it briefly here, but let's talk about present day. And then we're pretty much going to peel this onion back and talk about how you got to this point today. Let's dive into that for a second.
So for our scope, we basically do anything automotive restyling. And so, I categorize my business as automotive restyling. Everybody will kind of go after and say, oh, you're a window tinter, you're, car audio installer. I hate those words because that's not what we are. We basically take a vehicle, you buy it, we restyle it. If you're not happy with the way that it looks, we can make it look or be more safe than what, you bought it for. We work with other people to say, okay, you don't have to buy a new car to get the features that you want. If you have a used car, we can add the features, make it safer, for 16-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 70-year-olds, it doesn't matter. So I like the word restyling. It just really focuses on an encompass of everything that you can do to the vehicle. And we don't do anything performance or mechanical. So everything else outside of that. I've been doing this for 17 years. So like I said, when I was 18, and I went through different levels of certification. I went through, multiple trainings a year, and I still go to multiple trainings a year to stay on top of, integrating into new vehicles, seeing vehicles that are 2024. We work on everything from BMW, like you can see in the picture, Cadillac, Ferrari. We got Ferrari and Maserati in the shop right now. So, I'm a single owner operator. I have basically I call 1.5 part-timers. So I've got 2 people that are my part-timers. They help out. They're my 1099 friends that just can't be here all the time, but they do work that we offer. So we basically they help out. They do all the PPF for us. So that's PPF is definitely a 2 to 3 person job to do it right. So I need that help because as I'm running the shop, I'm doing window tint on that same car, or I'm doing, radar detector or, car audio. So, that's kind of the employee structure is I'm here every day by myself, answering the phones, doing the schedules, replying to ShopMonkey, using ShopMonkey to our advantage. At night, my wife, she'll attest to this, is I'm always on my phone. I'm, always on my computer when we're on the couch watching a show. And I'm responding to customers, at that time, because that's sometimes the only time that I can. We've been working on that, lately, as far as, doing that. But I work on 40 to 50 cars on average a month. So, and I think I just went through like a whole report recently. And that is from, the beginning of the month to the end, looking at how many invoices we've created and, seeing that, it could be a brand new car or it could be a 72, Malibu or something, it doesn't matter. I've been on my own for 4 years, and this is kind of where that podcast kind of comes from. I saw what it was. I used ShopMonkey from the beginning. Once I opened my company, I knew that's what I needed to do, is have some type of software that could help me. And once I started, we saw that growth. And I think that topic kind of, made its, own headline.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brad. I'm excited to dive into this because I think outside of software, you've had some very creative and very smart business investments to get where you are today. And so I want to dive into that. Let's dive into kind of peeling back this onion of how you got to where you are today. I think it's a fascinating story. And so for those with us that just joined in, and thank you for those who maybe just joined in, feel free to use the chat on the bottom if you have any questions or comments throughout. I'm keeping an eye on that throughout the whole session. But today's main topic, and kind of following Brad's experience and what he's been, how he's gotten his business to where he is today, we're going to talk about those shop beginnings, just dive into them for a little longer, right? Starting with that $500 investment. Then we're going to talk about kind of future investments and what Brad had looked into when investing into his business, whether that was software, websites, phone menus, really, really smart creative practices to elevate your business. And then also lessons learned. I think that's a really cool way to tie it all together and say what worked, what didn't work. And so that's how we broke up this session. We're going to make sure to stay on time so that we can give folks, their time back in the afternoon. But we want to make sure this is also beneficial in a way where you could walk away with something and feel like you can grab one or two pieces from here and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll bring that into my existing business, or I'm planning out a business. I didn't think about that. Let me try to incorporate that into my plan. So yeah, let's dive in. So part one, those shop beginnings. I know we've talked behind the scenes a little bit, but tell us a little bit about the shop beginnings, right? I know you had mentioned 10 years at Best Buy and then that $500 investment. And then also this picture a little bit. Explain to us what we're looking at here.
So, like I was talking about, I was at Best Buy and I decided, okay, this is what I want to do, but we were planning the wedding at the same time. So, we ended up taking everything that we kind of saved and put it into the wedding, and I was left with $500. I knew there's another story I could tell, but I think that's for a different time. But by the time that it was ready for me to jump ship, I had $500 to my name. And this was the only location available. It was big enough, it was 1,100 square feet. I'm like, okay, cool. I found this. This was a month-to-month location. It was probably 2 miles from my house. I was like, perfect. So, this, I lasted in, I had a bunch of people come in and, still like, hey man, congratulations, you're on your own. And we came in and we did it. We made it work for the month that I did. And I say a month because I always have that goal. I want the best and I want, something better than what anybody else can have or offer in the area. So while I was even in this location, I was looking for my next location and I was looking for other opportunities to grow. And I was like, you know what, I can't get the clients that I want with this little thing. But the month that I was there, I was like, I'm going to make this look the best while I'm looking for another place. Right. So I think my wife says I have ADHD, but I don't believe that. So anyways, I was looking for something, and that $500, for people who are looking to start. I mean, I started with $500, then I had negative $700, then I had negative $1,500. I mean, you're going to have that struggle, and I think there's another slide in here that kind of talks about that, where I had to rob money from other jobs. So and so when I was in this location, I was like, okay, well, let me look at the next location. I was also doing some stuff out of my uncle's, hot tub store where he just had a little garage that I was working at while I was still working at Best Buy, so I kind of was doing double duty. My initial customers basically was anybody that I reached out to. It was all word of mouth at this point. I had my website being built right as I was leaving. So there was this lapse of I didn't have any information. I just had my word of mouth. So the way that I, reached out to people was just through friends saying, hey, I'm opening my own shop. Can you spread the word? And that's basically how it kind of started. This location just didn't do it for me though. I mean, there's cars, like I said, that I wanted to work on that I couldn't do here. So we upgraded, and this ended up being the next step to what we were kind of going after. I went and found this location. It was vacant. It used to be a truck shop, and there was nobody in it. And I reached out to the landlord. I was able to get a meeting with the landlord and went through and kind of presented it as, look, currently it's not making you money. How would you like to become a landlord? How would you like to, because this was actually the landlord's company, that he used to do. So, I was like, how would you like to become a landlord to make money basically just from me being here? And I told him what I was paying at the last place, and we agreed on terms, and I was here in a month, so this was the next shop. So I was in this shop, this location for 2.5 years. And, everybody's looking at the shop, it's like, oh my God, that's gorgeous. It's big, it's huge, it's 60 deep by, I think, 60 wide. So 3,600 square feet. After kind of being in there alone, I realized that it was actually kind of too much space for me. I'll regret that right now, but I was like, it's too much space for me. I need somebody to come in. So I worked with a good friend who owns a detailing company, and I had him come in and we worked out another deal that was basically kind of, help supplement my business, because I did everything except detailing. I did everything except washing the car, the prep, right? So once we got to that point, it was okay, come in. We shared the space. After 2 to 3 months, we were packed. We had, multiple cars in there, and I knew that there was another avenue I needed to, pursue, whether it be down, build, whatever. So, I'm always looking forward to the next level, always trying to step up. And so we went from this location after about, 2.5 years. We built a really good reputation. We started having car shows. We started, we got rid of the lifts. We didn't need them. And really made it look good. And so the next location that is now our permanent location, we've been in, which is basically the same building. We just moved down. Great opportunity presented itself, and so we moved into another location. So I stood back, looked at it, and was like, okay, what can I do to really make this location separate myself from everybody else? And every dollar that I've ever made, I didn't go buy a jet ski. I didn't go buy a bunch of toys for myself. Every dollar that I've ever made has gone back into my company. I knew I wanted, Swiss tracks. I knew I wanted, organizers for all of my, ring terminals and things that we use, that, panel clips, you name it. So I wanted to be organized, and I wanted to show that we're organized. So it's been, I think a year now, year and a half, and we've been in this location, and it looks still kind of completely different than what, it does in these photos. But this was the very first car out we did. I planned it, wanted to do the blue car, wanted to do the blue floor, wanted that to be kind of like our first new shop, get ready kind of thing. And it turned out really well. And so the picture that you see on the top right picture, is kind of a more recent. We've kind of attacked the Teslas. We've kind of attacked kind of like higher end vehicles. And, we've got 3 Teslas in there, Maserati, or Aston Martin, sorry. Aston Martin in there, and a symmetry, organization, all that kind of plays into key with that shop. And then we can fit obviously these big semi sleepers because they're made 15 minutes away from us. So we do, window tint and audio systems and stuff like that in them. So that just kind of gives you a perspective of how big the shop actually is. And then you can kind of see in the front left, or the top left photo, there's no showroom up at the top. And then the bottom right, we kind of started building a little showroom off to the right. Yep. Which is over there. So that was something that we did probably, 8 months ago. Still working on it, because I'm doing everything myself. So,
and it looks amazing. The progression of it from month one, years back to where you are today is really amazing to see. And I want to step back for 1 second and just set some context for some folks, right? Because I think this is a very unique part of the automotive industry. I love the PPF, the detail side of the world, the restyling side of the industry. I think it's fair to say, though, that based on what we've been talking about, and also the conversation we're going to have in a second, a lot of this can really apply to any vertical or any part of the automotive industry, right? Sure, there's a lot more of a little more appeal in some of the cars that are coming in here. Absolutely. Because those are the services you're offering. But the beginning steps of going into find that location. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but in that second location, when you were there for 2.5 years, when you mentioned that you split that business with someone, or you split the shop with someone, they were essentially running their own kind of separate business alongside you, so that larger space made sense for both of you, correct?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, our garage doors, we had them labeled. I mean, we're in one big open area, so this could really apply to any, whether you just want to do suspension and somebody else wants to do, what we do,
like a co-working space almost.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it was. And, all of our customers are really receptive to it. They understand, like, I don't want to give up what I've done to somebody else over the last couple of years, and vice versa. And for us, I went to school for graphic design. And so, like, I have that like artistic side of like the paint protection, the window tint. I'm more focused and, on that side of things. So I don't want somebody else to have like that part of the business that I've kind of, I guess, worked for. And then vice versa. They focused on the detailing side. So when people come to me and like, well, you don't do your own car washes. I was like, why would I focus on something and spend more resources of my own resources and spend more money and spend more time trying to learn that side of the business when I have a great partner that can do that. And so, and it works really well. I mean, and so now you see the picture of the bay that we're in. My previous shop that I had, the larger one, that's where the detail department is. So that's the whole detail department now. So, if you're in that top left, picture, you can see those office spaces and stuff. Just on the other side of that wall is our detail department. So we are still connected. We have the same entrance, and it's, hey, you want detail? You got to go over to this company and we'll get your detail. And then we just drive the car right over to our bay. It works really well. And then the part that's not mentioned is the body shop that's also in the same complex as us. So we cover kind of all of those restyling and customization and repair all in one. We don't do like maintenance, oil changes or anything like that. That's dirty. I support all the guys that do that, but I don't like that dirty stuff.
No,
I get mad when I get oil drops on my floor. So.
Yeah. Well, and that's to your point, right? It's just a different part of the industry, but I love the idea of just walking into a business and making the right moves for it to make sense for you kind of early on. And maybe that can, if someone's thinking about this currently of how do I get that shop? Maybe they do want that larger shop, but maybe it just doesn't make sense at the moment. I think that's a fantastic idea. We hear about co-working spaces in many industries today. And so it's unique to see it in how you approach this and kind of where it's brought you to today. So I just want to
definitely coexist. I mean, coexisting is very possible. You just have to have the right arrows and the means of, directing people that if we're not there standing there waiting for them, how they need to go. And I think it's worked out really well.
Yeah, I agree. So based on this conversation here, let's talk about those shop investments for a second here. So part two. Yeah. So part two, right? Yeah. So let's talk about some shop investments and then we're going to go into everything else that's going on here. But we've talked about this a little bit behind the scenes. I'm excited to talk about this more with everyone here today. And I know we had actually more folks join in live. Thank you for joining in. Feel free to use the chat on the bottom if you have any questions or comments throughout. We're going to try to capture some questions at the end. And we have one that was pre-submitted. So we'll go over those at the end. But Brad, for business investments, I know we spoke about the $500 breakdown for a second earlier, but what were the next investments you made? So let's think back to, early on starting out, what were those initial investments that you did? And what were some of those other business focused investments you made to bring your shop to the level that it is today?
The first thing, and I wish I would have wrote these things down back then, because I don't even remember half of them. Right. So, but the biggest thing was, the business cards that you see there. Before I even did anything, it was making sure that if somebody wasn't even at our shop, didn't have ability to talk to us or see pictures, they knew what kind of work that we did. And these cards here are plastic. So they are plastic. They can see through. So our logo, you can see right through the logo. And it's the smallest detail that some people don't even pay attention to. You can see the front of the card has a front of the car. The back of the card has a back of a car. I mean, and some people wouldn't even pay attention to that, but it's the little details like that some people may see and be like, okay, cool. My name says owner integration specialist because I do a lot of integration. I'm not an installer. I'm not a technician. Like I said, I don't believe into those words. I'm more specific into what we do. So, and then the biggest thing was I kind of mentioned it. I want to talk about it was the rob Peter to pay Paul. Some people may have heard this. It's where you're basically struggling and you're taking the money from a job that you sell in the future and you take that to pay either a bill, or you say, hey, let me have you prepay $3,000, but let me take that $1,500, pay a lease or pay another invoice off. One thing that I didn't mention is that I didn't have a business line of credit, didn't have a hair, I didn't have an Egyptian prince, or I didn't have anybody give me any type of money. So that $500 was a true $500. I didn't have a business credit card until as of last year. And then the one thing that I don't know if I'm allowed to say or whatever, but I did get a Shop Monkey Capital last year. That was kind of at the same time. So a little kind of plug for you guys.
We can talk about that a little later.
That was kind of like the hardest thing is trying to figure out how to pay, what to pay, and when to pay it. And, I think that's comes with experience. The next one was the film plotter, which allows us to cut, the window film on a machine. So I did a lot of the same vehicles over and over. I had a lot of dealership accounts where I'm doing the same car, and I got really tired of cutting. So I actually had the film plotter before I actually left Best Buy. I knew that was something that I wanted to do, because if I was going to be in my own shop, I needed to have an efficiency. I needed to improve on that. And that was the only way I was going to do that. And I've been with that growth of, film plotter, and knew that if I could find one within my budget, and I found one, $2,500, 3 hours away, really good one. I actually still use it. So not only did it make me money within the first month and it paid itself off, it's just been tremendous, growth with that, which I bought another one, so now we have two, and I was just one guy, it's just me, but I don't like swapping needles. I don't like swapping film. So now we have two.
That's amazing. Basically, what I'm taking from this is essentially from starting a business, you focused on what you knew would be super important and critical to you making back that money, at least to pay off what you were buying. Yeah. But you knew also kind of, hey, long term, what would help me continue to be successful in what I'm trying to do? So the takeaway I have here is like focusing on, regardless of the vertical in the industry you're looking at, what are those key tools that you'll need? And it's worth the investment, because in the long run, which I think we'll talk about here in a second. The idea of your business cards and the presence, I think when we talked behind the scenes, was kind of setting yourself up, even though you're, for a long time, a one-person show with, no direct employees, right? Setting up a image and a reputation as if you're, a much larger company and extremely professional. I think what we're going to dive into next here, we don't have to talk about it here. We have a couple slides that are dedicated to, like, the website, the phone menu, the scented spaces, the new lifts. Let's dive into some of those, because I think this really brings to light kind of all the steps that you took to get where you are today. And first one being, you talked about it briefly, the welcoming space. I know this is newer, but also the scented space. Tell us a little bit about those investments you made. We're going to talk about the physical investments, right, into the shop, into what you're doing, and then we'll get into kind of the digital software presence in a little bit. Yeah.
So before we did this, and we would have just a door to the shop. People would walk in, they'd see me working, they'd see me sweating because we don't have any AC. And I've got all these nice cars, and people they come in, they just walk around, and which I'm kind of okay with, but again, kind of came to a point where it was like a liability thing. I like people seeing my shop. I like people seeing like how clean the shop was. And, they walk around, and that immediately they're like, wow, I can see all the cars you're working on. I want you to work on my car. So the problem is that if I wasn't here, or if I was on lunch, our door, like I said, it does kind of have two companies. So sometimes people would come in and they would walk around still. So I knew I had to get it some type of customer entrance. And plus, part of our agreement with Lumar and Select Pro is, having a customer entrance and sitting place. So, going back to the presentation, is like, there's a lot of things that I do in the business that are selective, and being a Select Pro dealer means like nobody else can be around us. And, so I wanted a lot of exclusivity for a lot of the things that I do, because I also know the way that the industry works, and people just kind of come out of nowhere and they offer the same services. So once we get to the point of making sure that people kind of understand, okay, these guys are this type of dealer, then they walk into this showroom, which is just a front room, and they see kind of the little displays that we have. I don't have a bunch of product on display. I don't have, all these things that people can touch. We've got a couple heat lamps and displays for the tint, but we do also audio jobs. And one of the biggest things in the 12-volt side is like, I need to have displays. I need to have everything on display. I need to have, things for people to touch and feel. I sell anywhere between $1,000 to a $15,000 audio system in a car without having a single display. And actually a lot of that. So the biggest kind of part was that once we started really advertising on Google, people wanted to come down. And so I needed them to have some place to kind of stand and look. because 90% of our business, and I know that number is probably pretty accurate, is all done through ShopMonkey, and it's all done through the internet. I sell audio systems, I sell window tint, I sell paint protection film, all through the email chain and text messaging chain of ShopMonkey. So this was that when somebody wanted to say, hey, can I come down? I was like, okay, let's have them something. And with kind of what I know about business and being in business for so long and playing on what people kind of do with their money and how they do it, they've got to have a clean space. I could have a small square and it could smell good, and they would ideally spend more than what they would at, Joe's Crab Shack. Well, I don't know. Crab's kind of expensive. So I invested into a shop scenting system that can scent up to 3,000 square feet. And so when people walk into my shop, and sometimes if they're even in the parking lot, they can smell it. It smells really, really fresh and clean. It's a scent that I picked out. They sent me a bunch of different things. I'm not going to mention the name, but people can comment or pass, for a comment if they want. But when people walk in, they naturally just smell that my shop is clean. We could have a car leaking gasoline, and that scent will probably overpower it. So, people want to spend more money when it smells good. So if you've got a dusty showroom, which sometimes I do, but I dust it, but at least it smells good, right? So all the other stuff that doesn't really last very long, you're spending multiple, sometimes even hundreds of dollars anyways a month. So ours is a system that constantly is spraying a scent, and people come in and it smells good. So they are attracted to spend more money if something smells clean, and I can just be verbally talking to them. So everything's done digitally as well. So those are all TVs that I have. Those I can change them from the computer or from my smartphone. I play our YouTube videos that we have. If somebody has questions, I have other videos or information that I'll play on the TVs. They'll just kind of scan through the day, because if I'm not standing there, because most of the time I'm in a car, but if I hear the door open, I'm going to let them kind of watch whatever's on the screens for a minute, just to kind of see if they had any questions about that. So these are my salesmen. These are that I've paid for once. And no offense to any salesmen out there. I'm not trying to make you, I make you obsolete, but we follow the trend of like McDonald's and everywhere else, where everybody is trying to, automate things. And I'm trying to figure out ways to what I do is so hard, and it's going to take me a lot of time to train somebody to what I do. So, once they're here and once they walk in, I'm damn near closing them almost 100% of the time, because they took the time to find us, come here, they get here. And, if I don't close them, it means I really messed up pretty bad.
Yeah. No, I love this, because this, and I'm going to keep tying it back, but this applies to every shop in the industry, right? There's an opportunity there to say, hey, maybe your shop is disconnected from the office, and that office is just maybe not as clean, or maybe just a little less neglected, or a little more neglected than the shop space, right? We don't have the time to go in there and dust it every single day, but there's something that can run in the background to help that experience. Yeah. And before we move on to the shop, I know we're going to talk about lifts here for a second and kind of what that did for the business. The phone system that you have, if we could just quickly kind of talk about the impact or why you went with the phone system that you have. Yeah.
So I tried a couple different things. Everything that I have now has not been without a struggle. I've tried and failed. And it just pissed me off to the point where I just kept finding. Most of the time I just Google the most expensive service, because that's what it ends up being. I found that out. So I just what's the most expensive phone system? So I ended up getting a voice over IP system, and there are other systems out there that will suit other people for sure. But for me, I've got a phone system, and I'm one guy, but I have a phone on my desk that's in the front showroom there. I have a phone that's in my landline that's in the desk where I'm at right now. And then I have my cell phone, which is an iPhone. So that system, when people call in, it's not just a ring. It just doesn't ring. It's not just ring. It's pre-recorded information that I typed. I had a marketplace of people. There's marketplaces out there that you can pay somebody to do voiceovers. And so I picked a an attractive female to do our voiceovers for our company. And so when you call, it's a welcoming greeting that kind of goes over the services, what you're looking for, what we are, who we are, and says press 1 for car audio, press 2 for window tint, press 3 for, I forget the order because I don't listen to it every day. But when it rings on my desktop phone or anything, or on my cell phone, it tells me that it's coming from the voiceover system. And it tells me if they're calling about car audio. It tells me if they're calling about window tint. It tells me, so then I can kind of prepare what they're doing. And then I have voicemails for each. So as one person, I knew that there's these things that I wanted to be efficient about. And, a lot of people don't think about it. They're like, oh, I'm just going to ring, and then a ring, and it's going to go to voicemail. It's going to say, sorry, voicemail box is full, or please leave a message after the tone, mine's like a 5-minute hold time, because if I can get to you, I can get to you. 5 minutes is a really long time to be on hold, but there are people that hold. But in the middle of that, I've got music playing, and then, it says like, sorry, window tint takes 2 hands. We might be, working on a vehicle currently right now. So please give us a couple more minutes and we'll try to get to it. If not, leave a voicemail. So, that all is just kind of something that's a perception of value, perception of like, this is a huge corporation. And then when people walk into this little showroom and I'm like, oh, sorry, it's just me. And they're like, it's just you. Like, that's the same response I get every single time. It's like, it's just you. Like, how do you, I call, and I thought I was calling Facebook or Google, and there, there's a bunch of prompts and stuff. And that way also, it's like when somebody calls and they're, my phones are ringing in the background by the time that these people are making these presses. So in theory, their artificial wait time or, whatever isn't really as long as when the phone starts ringing. So I have the ability to answer it before they're really even on hold for a long time.
No, I love it. The perception of value and kind of trying to show that value of your shop is just, it's one of the coolest things I've heard. And it's extremely smart in terms of, hey, this is how I want to run my business. And it's worthwhile for me to kind of know when I pick up the phone. It's almost like a more personal connection with that customer, kind of leaning into that customer experience, right? Of like, hey, I saw you're calling for audio. What questions can I answer? What are you looking for? That just takes it to a whole nother level. So yeah, that
and like the prompts is like, so when they hit like window tint, it'll say like, thank you for looking for window tint, and then it'll go over our options. So like it's a silent salesman. And so, basically a silent salesman is somebody that is in not even a human, but they're making sales for you. And so I'm hoping that by the time that I pick up that call, that it's okay. Hey, how are you doing? When you're looking for window tint, yeah, I want to do your Pinnacle, because they already heard what it does and they're like, right, I want to do that. So, and then that's kind of where our website comes in as well.
Yeah, love it. And to that point, I think what we'll do is, let me just see what we had here.
I could talk about that real quick. I can just give you a quick little.
Go for it. Yeah.
So we were so slow at doing certain jobs. And by slow, I mean, you having to pull the car up on race ramps, pulling car down, turn it around, backing it up on race ramps. Race ramps only gives you about, 12 inches off the ground. So one of the biggest investments that I made was the 2 things in here, which is the Summa plotter. If I was going to buy a plotter, it's going to be a Summa because it is the most accurate down to the 1/32. I can run 200 inches of film and it's not going to jog. So for people who understand that, it just means it's real accurate. And so if we're going to work on high-end cars, I wanted my shit to be real accurate. The next thing was the lift. Everything that I do enough research on. Sit there on my phone on my couch, remember? So this is another lift. It's made in Germany. A lot of the stuff that we do is obviously made in Germany because those guys do it right. But this is a lift. This was $10,000. When people talk about different lifts, I can buy one for $3,000. I can buy one for $5,000. I knew that when this thing goes down to the ground, it's only 4 inches off the ground with how many low profile, cars that we work on. I needed something really low, but it goes up to 78 inches. So I don't know. So go ahead and hit the next slide.
Yeah, no. I to that point, knowing your customer and your audience, right? I know what's coming in as a business, and I know how I want to approach that. So, for even if someone's not doing this caliber of work, understanding that, right? Maybe on the total opposite spectrum, they're doing a lot of lifted, Wranglers and Toyotas. You have to have a very unique lift for that. So I think it applies either way. And I love this slide because we have go for it.
Exactly. Yeah. So this just kind of shows like. This is a Toyota Corolla. The lift will do up to 7,000 pounds. So, we are really focused on getting underneath the vehicles. And now once the car's on the lift, we can do everything we need to do. So we're we are more profitable now by spending more money into the things that make us more efficient. So when you sit there and think like, okay, if I'm paying my tech or somebody, in a different, field, if I'm paying somebody X amount of money, but they're taking longer than they should, then there's an efficiency problem. And so what I realized is like, okay, we could do a full wrap on a car in 3 days, but that's with race ramps. We could do a full wrap in a car in 1 day now because we can lift it up and it never has to move. We completely disassemble the car that we need to and then wrap every single panel. And then the second day it's almost leaving. So, that just made us more money because before where we could only wrap 3 cars, maybe in a full week, now we can wrap 5. So we went from possibly, maybe $6,000 to $10,000 to almost $20,000 in revenue per week if we, wanted to be up there. So,
and tell us about something here that I think all of everyone, regardless if you're in a shop currently, you own one, or if you're thinking about one, tell us about this over here in the Aston and how this applies to really everyone in the industry and what this can do for the customer experience. But yeah, what was your investment here in this photo?
That kind of comes from the trade of being at Circuit City, Best Buy. It's protect the car. I mean, we did vehicle check-ins and stuff all the time. And, we had reusable seat covers, but they weren't anything that, I liked. They always shifted and moved. So once again, look for the best, way to protect the vehicle. And so as an industry with aftermarket accessories, we're taking interiors apart. And, so like this car, I actually had to take the interior apart to do some work. And so, I'm leaning over the dash and whatnot. So we've got that green interior tape. So that's an interior tape because, this is a $300,000 car. The last thing I'm going to do is scuff that, kick panel with my shoe. As far as, it doesn't do a good job because I'm about to explain something, but on the right, obviously I'm wearing jeans and boots. But that's because we were installing that lift. And I was the test. We installed the lift and I lifted it up and I stood under it. So I was wearing jeans. I installed the lift myself. But everything that I wear, the only thing that has buttons is this shirt, but my shorts, pants that I wear, nothing has an exposed button. And I usually use a shirt that doesn't have any exposed buttons as well. So no belts with metal. It's all a Velcro belt. So that kind of goes into protecting the vehicle. So this car seat protector is puncture proof and fireproof. So even if we're soldering or using a heat gun or anything like that, we can't burn the seat. Same thing with the floor. We can't burn the floor, feet, mud. We just take them out. I bought 30 of those because I'm working on 5 cars and I've got 2 seats in a car. Sometimes I just tinted a Grand Wagoneer that has a huge back seat. I put those in the back seat because I'm tinting the sunroof. So if anybody even tries to come to me and say, hey, like there's a hole in my seat, and yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen eventually, but this is a standard for us where we're protecting every single car that rolls in through with an interior tape like this of, the kick panel, or we also have exterior tape, which if you were to go, can you go back one slide?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me 1 second.
So you see all that white tape, that's because we're leaning on the vehicle. So it doesn't leave any residue or anything like that. So we basically are, leaning in the vehicle. We actually took that whole, frunk out. So that way we know we're not scratching the car. So just a little protection.
That is amazing. And I think what we wanted to, I know we put this in a little later, but I just wanted to mention, and just to tie it back to the industry overall, right? Used car sales, 2023, $26,969 is the average cost of a used car. And then almost $50,000 average cost of a new car in 2023. Just to set some context and some examples, in 2018, it was $20,000 for a used car and $37,000 for a new car, average across the US. I only bring this up to say, regardless of the vertical you're in the automotive industry, a lot of these little steps along the way, the Corvette, for example, 100,000 might be very comfortable for someone in that space, but 30 and 50,000 for a lot of customers as well could mean a lot of money. And those extra steps go a whole lot further when we look at, the amount that customers are spending on their vehicles today. So I just think it ties in perfectly with what you're doing along the way.
The next thing, the next best thing too, is also like people don't understand, like customers are holding on to their cars longer.
Yep.
So, from being a 3-year car, it's now a 5 or a 10-year car.
Yeah. More maintenance, more just overall routine, repairs, and then also PPF and detail. It's having customers service that vehicle more and more than they would traditionally in the past. So yeah, great point, Brad. Thank you. Now, I know we talked a lot about physical investments, right? I know we're still on this theme of investments, but for the next couple slides here are all kind of digital presence, right? And we'll start with the website. Once again, you mentioned one person, right? You have a couple people that help you out, but the website looks extremely professional. And that was the approach here, correct?
Yeah. So I actually had a different website. We just redid the website, it took me almost 8 months. I did a lot of the website myself, but I also had a marketplace, of designers help me. So, but all the verbiage, everything is all mine. And when people search you, they're searching your company. And if you don't have a website, I mean, it's not game over, but I mean, it's leading to the point, like if you're not going to be able to present your company online without them even coming to you, they might not even give you a chance. And so the very first thing that I knew, I needed to have a website. So the first website I had was good. It got the information out there, but it wasn't organized. I wasn't getting the click rates. I wasn't getting, the contact. So I had it redesigned. I knew the realm of how I wanted to do it. And then it got to the point where I was like, I probably should start throwing some pricing on there, because I'm not candid at all. I don't need to hide pricing, because of what we do is, pretty widespread, and use my pricing and go to a competitor. I don't care. There's plenty of vehicles to work on, and I'm not going to get every single one of them. So what that's going to help is filter out a lot of clients and customers, because when people are going through and they're just looking for price, then they're not, if they're, okay, then they might not even call us, but that's okay. So we wanted to make sure that I was able to track the website. So I was able to figure out where people were clicking, how they were clicking, and then just really showing how we looked on a digital spectrum and make sure it represented the work. So I think I have one of the more cleaner websites in the area as far as, information for customers.
Yeah, no, it's extremely clear. And once again, it gives that perception, right, of like, hey, this is a very legitimate business and we want to provide you with the best service. So kind of leaning into that perception that we were talking about earlier, right? From the phone system to the scented space and the business cards, right? I think I was going to comment earlier. I don't think I've ever seen that the transparent business card. Yeah, that is excellent. So that
our next step is metal. So we're going to be cutting some metal, but also I wanted to talk to you real quick, because I know our time's getting, I know you probably not worried, but on our website, it does say my BMW and my Tesla. We do a lot of BMWs. We do a lot of Teslas. So what better way? And people are like, well, why'd you choose why'd you choose my? Well, because when you log into an app, it usually says my Tesla or my Porsche, my anything, my BMW. So I kind of played off of those words. Yeah, my Ford. So, when people kind of get that connotation of like, okay, let me click that. And so then we've got BMW specific things that we do. And then we've got Tesla specific pricing, because, for us, Teslas are a little easier. So we can kind of adjust the pricing a little bit and information a little bit for that. And then everything that's on our website, as far as digital media, graphic, I designed myself. So I spent the time. So all the tint packages and everything that's on there is something that I made myself through Photoshop.
And that's amazing. And I know folks who are on the call might have heard us mention kind of marketplace and whatnot. I know we'll have your contact information at the end. So if anyone had any questions about that, or like if Brad had any recommendations or, areas to point in, we'll make sure that you have the contact information at the end of the slide there. So you could always reach out. But that is amazing. And then I think the next slide, right, if we tie it into where this site goes and how it connects into the next piece of software, right? So leaning into software and something to help manage the business overall. Now, I'm a little biased, obviously, but you went with us, and how, overall from what we have mentioned here, how has this improved what you do on a weekly and monthly and yearly basis at Auto Obsessions?
So from the initial standpoint, I tried out different softwares. I mean, I won't name any, but there are so many softwares out there that you can try for free or try for 30 days, try for a year, some of them. I tried them all at the same time. I entered customers' information all at the same time and found out which one was less clicks, which one was more efficient for me day to day. And it was a no brainer that it was ShopMonkey. So, because I also could do everything in one, and this was ShopMonkey 4 years ago. So, I know there's people on here that are either using ShopMonkey now or whatever, and might have, a different say. But I mean, 4 years ago, I was using the software and stuck through it because the amount of information that I could capture from customers without actually, typing it in myself, that was one whole step that I just saved. So the efficiency part of things made that easy, being organized. So, coming from Best Buy in Circuit City, when we had to ring somebody up, we could scan something, right? So that's one thing that I, missed, knock, knock. So I wanted to be able to scan some stuff. So, but I was like, okay, let's do canned services. So for people who don't know, we can do the canned service and I can just click it. So all of my window tint packages for every single car size, front to, so like if you go here, I actually have in ShopMonkey where it says windshield strip, $100, or it says Stratus windshield tint, and it has that price, but it's also a CAM service that has a labor and a part. So I went through my cutting software and figured out what the average windshield size was and just chose different vehicles and then typed in a max window tint part per square foot, so that then I know, okay, if it costs me X amount for parts and it costs me X amount then in labor. And if me or my other tech makes a certain amount, it's already going to be automatically in there. So now what that does is when people come back and they say, hey, I want, or they go on the forum, or I'm sorry, my website, everything that's right there, it says services, my BMW, my Tesla, contact, that free quote, free, click it. And then it gets you to the ShopMonkey site. The cool thing is then we built the website around kind of ShopMonkey in the sense of like, okay, if you hit that book now, like you're ready to book, what's it going to do? It's going to take you to the ShopMonkey, request form. So you can click on our website anywhere between 20 to 30 times to get into the ShopMonkey quote request. And then it brings you into that and it comes right into the software. So when I'm not doing anything, this is another silent salesman for me. So when they know that they want to do something, they say, okay, boom, I want to do the window tint. And half the time it's, hey, I want to do Pinnacle front two on my car. Hey, I want to do Stratus. And so I already know. And so I just have to go to canned services, click it, say, thank you. I have the templates already set up. So a bunch of messages that are sent up and the template that says, hey, thank you for reaching out for your window tint, inquiry. Here's some of our pricing. If you haven't seen it, it looks like you said something about Pinnacle. Here's the pricing for that. And I shoot them an estimate. And I don't even type anything. Nothing is being hand typed. I'm clicking the button. And there have been times it's been 11 o'clock at night. I've been playing Call of Duty on my screen next to me. And I'll see it popped ShopMonkey, and I will send it. And I closed, probably a year ago, a $10,000 PPF job by just sending them a quote at 11 o'clock at night. And I didn't even say anything. I didn't have to type anything personal. I just said, hey, I clicked the template, gave them a shot of the videos because that's what my template has. And it was so efficient that, that's what I do all day. And so every once in a while I'll come through, click it and send those templates out. And so really focusing on the template side, the messaging, just type it. Like if you're finding that you're typing the same message over and over and over and over, and you're like, man, my fingers are getting real tired, just turn it into a template and then you can send it. And then it's personalized to their name. And that's what I do. It's all templated.
Yeah, it's an amazing integration of software, right? I think we were leaning into software here, and it's not just ShopMonkey. It's the combination that you've done with your website and how it's built around making sure that I love the silent salesman. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's linking it right into your shop, and you can pick this up at any time and be able to provide customers with that experience of like, better than some dealerships in the area. I'm sure many would argue, right? Yeah. It's quick, it's efficient, and as from a business standpoint, exactly what you're listing out. And I think we even listed it here, right? Just a quick example of, for anyone who's joining and hasn't seen what this looks like. But Brad, these are some of the packages that you were talking about earlier, some of those canned services and kind of how that looks, correct?
Yep. So the full vehicle window tint SUV 40 Stratus is 40 just indicates the roll size. So because you can buy it in different. So, we just, have it there. So we have it broken down by material and then labor. So, and there's a little bit left for material, but we kind of adjusted this a little bit just for the viewing purposes, but it's in a lump sum. So, when you lump sum that canned service, your customer doesn't see how it's itemized or broken down. So they just see that final price. So we make sure that, if there's certain things like that where we aren't itemizing, and this kind of goes back to the just industry in general, we don't put part numbers on anything. So, we do the description and then that's it. So this one came in with all of that information in that record, that customer side. That customer wrote everything like that on, his information. And if you notice, there's 16 messages, communication between me and the customer that I talk to, because once you get an email, or you can respond, and you can respond back through email, like as it is a text message. And I do that often because I have my phone on me. I have an AirPod. So, I click it and then I just do voice to text and then I'll send it. So there's a lot of efficiencies that are built into the software that we can talk about and how to make your life easier. And I think I still have a long ways to go because there's more things. I mean, I think the last thing I checked was I think I have like 10,000 SKUs or something.
Wow.
Into ShopMonkey itself.
Yeah, but I love this example because here, exactly what you pointed out, maybe we should have highlighted these when we have the recording later for everyone, if you wanted to pause and see any of this, right? So 16 messages was located up here, and that's the back and forth communication between Brad and his customer. But this example, I think this is golden, right? It's like this customer just told me everything that's happening. Hey, we're purchasing a new Hyundai Palisade and would love to get work done, specifically window tinting and paint protection film, right? So sure that this is the vertical we're talking about, but that can apply to any kind of work and any type of job that someone is requesting. And if you as a business can capture this information early on and then be able to build out a quote, sure, you may have to edit it. It may not have everything that they're thinking about, right? Because they filled out that quote so quick, but you're getting back to them with potentially 90%, maybe 100% of exactly what they were looking for in that first estimate that you send their way. So this is a fantastic example of how all of that connects into this not final result, but kind of the middle point of your communication with your customers.
And most of it's prepaid for in full for us. I mean, if in order to book with us, you're prepaying in full because we're reserving materials, we're reserving time. From a $3,000 job to a $10,000 job, you're paying in full. There are some customers in some instances where we only do 50% because what I've noticed is if I take full payment for 2-3 weeks of appointments, the problem is for that 2 to 3 weeks, if I don't sell anything, I'm not making money. So there are instances where I do pull back and do a 50% deposit, but we take a deposit on every single car. It's to the point where customers understand it's like, it's my time. You're reaching out to me. You want me to do your work. My time is valuable. So they understand that and they have no problems doing it. And if they do, that customer is the one that's not going to show up when you don't take a deposit. And that's 100% accurate. And sometimes I won't take a deposit if I know that person's not going to show up because I'm like, okay, fine, no, we'll see you later. And they don't show up. And I'm like, I thought it, but at least now I can go take a lunch.
and safe to say, though, it's been working very well based on kind of how you've been leaning into this approach. I think we tried to tie it together with like, hey, here are the results and this is how we're performing. And I did just want to call out from a time perspective, we're still going to go through. And I know if anyone has to jump, I understand we're at the hour there, but I think we have just a few slides left that we'll chat through maybe another 5-6 minutes. So it is all being recorded. We will have a recording for you. If you're able to hang out with us, please feel free to do so. We're going to be here kind of just going through the rest of this, but I wanted to call that out and definitely let everybody know that it is being recorded in case you did have to jump. So thank you for joining if there was anyone that did have to, but kind of leaning back into this, was there anything that you wanted to point out here, Brad? For one, going back to like always thinking ahead, when I opened up my company, I'm like, okay, let me look at everybody in the area. And now if I do that, there's 20 more people than where there was when I started, but I looked at everybody's Google reviews and I'm like, everybody that's been around for 20 years has 10, 20 reviews on social media. I knew that was going to be easy to achieve, to be, higher. So my goal is to, get more. Yeah, I'm pissed. I only have 130 because we do, 500 to, 600 vehicles, in a couple of months. Sometimes I do 500 just in December through remote starts, but it's kind of frustrating because you get people that want to review you, they say they're going to and they don't. So I just kind of keep clicking. I've got a template that says, thank you for using us as your preferred shop. Please, visit our Google page and tell us how we did. And then we also use MailChimp. I think we should have talked about that a little bit ago, but we use MailChimp for email.
campaigning. And then the appointments down, Google, Google is the number one source of all your information. If you don't have an updated business page on Google, if you don't have your hours, your phone number, your services, one thing that I lack a lot is updating my Google page, the business page, because people don't realize they actually have a business profile. So you should be making posts, you should be offering services, you should be posting your photos to that Google page, because that organically is going to rank you on Google. So we've got 5 stars, 130. I've got the most kind of in the area, and like I said, there's companies that have been around for 20 years and they don't even have half of that. So we get a lot of business from people that just, you've got the highest rating. People will say, oh, 5 stars is fake. Click that, you'll see. I've got a 1 star, I've got a 4 star, I've got 3 stars. We stay 5 because we have as many 5 stars, and it kind of overpowers. And then the biggest thing is the appointments linked to ShopMonkey. Once again, going back to, if you want to contact, boom, there it is. Hit that appointment link. In the future, I don't know, but I'm all for online booking and online paying of services. So hopefully that's where that ends up leading to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is kind of really tying this section together very well, because we're going from kind of how you started with the website, tying in ShopMonkey, tying in Google, and how they all connect, but making sure that just overall that anyone who's currently in the business or looking to be in the business, leaning into that software, understanding it and knowing what points you need to touch for it to be successful and to work to your advantage. Right. And so I agree. I think we all have room for improvement, right? I think it's an ongoing a goal of always trying to improve. And so, we look forward to working with yourself and shops as well to bring more offerings in the future as well. Now, I think the final section, and this one's great, and I think it really just sums up exactly what you mentioned earlier, right? It wasn't just highs. There were some lows, and there was some, a lot of researching and different experiments done to get where you are. But let's talk about do's and don'ts, right? What would you say are some do's and don'ts for anyone who's with us here right now?
Yeah. So the biggest do's is investing into your business. Everything that we've done has been the whole kind of perception of my company. And if I don't put everything that I can into my business, then I'm only asking for failure. My business can't succeed if I don't update the technology, their information. There's a lot of things that I pay for, even that people don't see or that I don't talk about, because it helps my company. So I think that's kind of the biggest one. And then the next is, you've got to know your market. You've got to know your customer base. I get people all the time, on different forums that say, this customer says I'm too expensive, or this customer doesn't want to, do business with me. How do I capture that sale? I wouldn't really worry about each sale, but making sure that your process is the same. So, because if you know your customer, you know your client, and that process, whether you have multiple employees, if you know that the verbiage that is coming out of your salesman or that demeanor with a smile on their face, you've got to be thankful that people are walking in the door. If your salesman is pissed off, and this is coming from, I don't have salesmen, but if your salesman is pissed off from having to help somebody, they might not be the best fit, or there might be a change of attitude that you could help. So you've got to be presentable with your customers that are willing, they're there to spend money. So, that's kind of the one thing. Customer service is the follow-ups, the making sure that they're happy with their product, 6 months down the line. Hey, just wanted to make sure you're still happy. Do you have any questions? And then, grabbing, their address and ShopMonkey, sending them a thank you card later down the road. These are all things that I want to do that I haven't been able to do as far as addresses, sending them gift, care packages to your, higher end clients. If you're a dealership, sending dealerships, pizzas and saying, thank you for, the business last month. Here's lunch on us. So get in, touch with the local pizzeria, pizza shop. So, there are things that you can definitely do. Customer service goes a long way. And just making sure that who your customers are is a big, big step. Cause I have no problem telling people no. If a customer walks in and they demand things, we just tell them no, and we're not the shop for them. Social media, we don't really boost many things on Facebook. Everything's Google. Google, Google page, spend more money on the Google AdWords and advertisement, because that organically is going to link to your website, which is going to organically link to Google Maps, which is then organically going to link to every single person's phone when they Google you. Even through Safari. The biggest thing is that people get caught up in boosting posts on Facebook and say, yeah, it reached 1,500 people. Great. It reached 30,000 people. How many people bought from that ad? How many people inquired from that ad? You spent $400 and you got 2 sales. Put $400 into Google and you'll see how many sales you'll get. We're at about $1,000 a month in just Google ads. And I've made several of them. And then the software, we've done that. We've talked about it. There's many different softwares between ShopMonkey, Canva, Hootsuite, and different websites that help design stuff for us. We don't do any TV ads. We don't do any media ads. I think I've done nothing paper. I don't do it. People call me all the time or stop by. Let's do a newspaper. Let me do a table at a restaurant or something like that. I don't do that because physically or mentally, I can see the ROI is not anything that I would want, it to be, where I would just funnel that back into Google. Worrying about other shops, it doesn't bother me. We got other people that you'll talk to and it's like, so-and-so is doing this, so-and-so is doing that. They're doing this shop here. Did you see the car that they've got? If you focus on what you can do differently and what you can do better, you're always going to be one step ahead. If you start worrying about people that are to the left of you and to the right of you, you're never going to be able to walk forward. So, the biggest thing is, not letting what everybody else is doing, distract you from being successful. The more time and energy that you spend on yourself is going to be the more time and energy spent in your company. And then you're just going to be able to, succeed. And that's why I said, you move in silence. Actually, I didn't say that yet, but I'm saying it now. Move in silence. You don't want your competitors to know your next move. You don't want people to, say, okay, well, these guys are going to do this. We need to hurry up and do it. So, I didn't come out and say, everybody wait, let's check out my website. It's going to come out in 6 months, because that's just going to entice everybody else to make another website. They're going to try to be better than me. So I didn't say anything about my website until it was published. So there's a lot of things like that don't worry about anybody. Thinking backwards, what you did, what you learned on, that's great. But never think about, oh man, we did this, 6 months ago. That really put a, knife in our back and whatnot. And how do you recover? You need to just go forward. You need to, worry about, what you're going to do in 3 months, what you're going to do in 3 months when the, housing market crashes or RV market crashes, which is right next to us. So once I start seeing things like that, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing next week. I'm thinking about, how do I get through December? What am I going to do in February when people start getting their tax money? So I'm starting to think about the ads and the things that I can advertise in February. And then the last thing is, think you can do it all. It sounds like I can do it all. One of the worst things that I ever did was not have an accountant. So I do have an accountant. One of the worst things that I did when I first opened up, I owed the IRS way too damn much money, and I still owe them way too much money. But thinking that you can do it all, that's the first thing that I'd recommend, is getting somebody that knows numbers, knows how to make those numbers smaller, and they are worth every penny if they're right. So I basically went to an accountant and said, are you willing to go to jail over me and for me and with me? And we're going to be there and sitting. And they said, we will do everything that we can. So I knew that they were the right fit. So, you just got to hire the right people.
Those are some great accounting questions to come into when you're looking for one. So
yeah,
that's amazing. Now, I think here, we can cover these. We have a couple hours. We're running late today, everyone. So I think this is just it's a great topic, and we're going to go and make sure we can record the whole session. Thank you for everyone that's sticking around. It seems like folks are sticking around for the whole event, which is amazing. So what we will cover,
appreciate that.
This is only a couple slides left, but there's a report, and then also just a question you wanted to answer that came in through registration. So Brad, I'll kick it over to you for customer loyalty.
Yeah. So customer loyalty is that, really no job is too small. So when people come in and they're have an issue that they either from another shop or, it doesn't matter. I have a guarantee that if it's 15 minutes left, 15 minutes or less, I'm not charging you. I don't believe in, using my knowledge to somebody else's expense at the point of like, okay, I've spent years knowing this, and 15 minutes is a general conversation that I could have with somebody over the phone. So if they stop by and I can fix or come with a solution within 15 minutes, I'm not charging them. What I am going to ask for them is to sure as hell leave me a Google review, or make sure to use us in the future. Hey, I don't want any money. Just make sure you use us in the future for anything, or tell your friends about us. That's all we ask. And that usually leads into something else. Well, now that I'm here, I do want to talk about window tender. I do want to, that common courtesy goes a long way, and it just shows that you're really passionate about what you do and you really are human. When there's dealerships that, for one, bring your car down. We got to take a look at it before you quote us. I don't need to look at your car. I'll tell you over the phone. And then the next thing is, I can't walk out there, or if I pulled the car in, I'm going to charge you $60. I'm going to charge you $120. Yeah, it's money. It's money. I get it. But I'm building that loyalty, building our brand, building the shop name, building my name, all from that. And I've done far many other things for a lot less money. So those little things are really what builds trust in those clients. And yeah, I mean, if it gets to the point where you got a whole line of 15-minute appointments, then obviously you're going to have to say something. But communication is key. If we're working on a car, we see something, we're messaging them right away, like a scratch or something that we missed on a check-in. Also transparency as far as like, look, this is the job we're doing. It's detailed. This is exactly what we're going to do. We're not going to do anything more. If we do need to do something more, we're going to call you. We're going to email you. We're going to get that authorization. That transparency of like, hey, here we are. Here's your shop. The biggest thing is I don't know if anybody, probably doesn't follow us, but we just had a GT3 in here, $300,000 car. We cracked the left rear window. I'm not candid about that. We cracked the window because we tried to take it out, and it's an $1,800 window. It's $1,800. So I ordered it before I even called the customer. So called the customer. He didn't care. It's transparent. Just as long as it's getting fixed, so on a $300,000 car, you break an $1,800 window. Shit happens. Everybody knows that. It's how you man up, how you, deal with that issue when it happens. And if I were to sat down and beat the bush for 2 days and say, yeah, we broke the window, no, it's own up, be a man, and take care of it, and do what you need to do it right. And, it is what it is. So, and then the Google reviews everybody that we do is, getting a message that says, thank you for using us as your preferred shop. I try not to use the words best and number one. That's all stuff's very cliche. We try to use preferred or, highly rated, things that are kind of soft, and not necessarily a lie, because I can't tell you how many number one shops are in my area.
Yeah, no, I love that. The preferred shops. That's the language alone makes a difference in how you approach those customers. That's great. And then I know on the next slide here, we touched upon it briefly. I know you had mentioned a little bit in regards to expenses and reporting. And I know this is very detailed. It's not visible on this screen because there's a lot going on here, but I know that you wanted to just briefly talk about this. And also there's a template that we can provide for anyone that is interested, that is looking into starting a business and currently owns a business and wants to take a look at this and see, hey, what do I know? Brad, tell us what this is and why you lean on it.
I was tired of figuring out where the hell my money was going. Like I said, I've got the accountant, but at the same time, I'm like, all right, there's something going on here. I need to figure it out, because at the end of the month, I wish I had more money. So last year, I think it was, I can't remember, time flies. I decided to do a fixed expense report. And what this basically is I went through everything that I paid monthly. I went through the lease, the utilities, the advertisement, the software, my car insurance, my phones, everything that I know that I pay monthly, and said, okay, what do I need to run my business? So at the end of the year, I did adjust a lot of these numbers because I didn't want anybody, comparing them to where they are. So, so I inflated a lot of them or deflated a lot of them. But, at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, well, it cost me X amount of money to just run my company. Like if I didn't take a single client in for the year, if I wanted to tell all my installers to go home and I just didn't want to work, but I had all the same bills, this is what it would take to run my company. And, that was, X amount of dollars. And let's just say on this thing, it says $172,000. That's not my company, but, on this, it says, okay, or I can't see it, but it says whatever it says.
173. You were there.
Yeah. So, so that if you do this month to month and you figure out, okay, for the month of January, these are all the things that I have coming out, and you put in even the things that are quarterly. So, I've got software that I pay quarterly. So that January, March, quarterly. And then at the end of the day, you can type in your sales. You can type in the Shop Monkey sales at the top. So you can say, okay, well, shit, we are down $5,000 for this month, and we're eating ramen. And that's usually what I tell my wife. No eating out today. But you go through that process and you figure out, because if you don't know, you're just throwing darts. You're start throwing, what's the saying? Shit to the wall, see if it sticks, So I don't know if this is PG rated, sorry. But it's kind of one of those things that I figured it out. And I said, okay, this is all I need to do to run my company for the year. Perfect. Let's do that in 2 months. So that was my goal. So pay for everything in 2 months and then move from there. And, so it's steadily working. So if people want to get this, we have this available. It'll be completely, entered, and I color coordinate things because I see colors better. So, the orange stuff is like advertisement stuff. The purple stuff is software that we use. The green is vehicles, and a bunch of other things in there. So you can color coordinate however you want, and type in and insert cells, however many you have. And then you can enter, your payroll expenses into there. So if you know what they are, you can then see that. And it's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then for anyone looking to get a copy of this, Brad has put together a really great QR code. Take a second here. I know there's a couple questions regarding the Scent system. What's the brand? Where are you getting it from? So feel free. This will get you in contact with Brad. Just feel free to, if you take your iPhone or your Android device and you open up the camera and scan this will bring you to kind of a request contact form with Brad directly. And then we also have Brad's email up here as well, in case that isn't working for you. So we'll leave it up here just for a second. And Brad, I love this. I love the last photo we put in here.
Yeah. So that was really just thinking about, you don't need to do everything in one leap. I've, in 4 years, I've taken a lot of small steps. I wish somebody would have just given me the money to start. I wish somebody would have given me the building. I wish that would have had all that stuff, but, taking each one of those little small steps really makes you appreciate everything that you have. And, I'll sit back and I'll stand in my shop and I'll just look around before I end the day. And my dad sometimes stops by and he's like, stop thinking. That's usually what he tells me, because it just means I want to do something different, so don't feel that you need to do everything in small, or in large increments. If you want to go after something, you got to set that goal. But if that goal is unobtainable, there are most definitely smaller goals that you can set to, again, get you there faster. So if you want to do something in a year, maybe there's 2 or 3 things that can help you get there that you just need to kind of think about, because then you'll be there faster than 6 months.
Yeah, I love it. Makes a ton of sense. And I think we can apply that to many things in life, but absolutely running a business, starting a business, it's not an easy feat. There aren't, 4 big steps that you can take and guaranteed in. So, none of this either. We can say, I guess a disclosure, we can't say that, all of this will guarantee you to run a successful shop, but these are great recommendations to get you and point you in the right direction. And so, Brad, I want to personally thank you, for this session. Thank you for all the great advice and expertise and experiences that you've shared with everyone today. I think this could be a phenomenal resource for, like we said, current business owners, future business owners, maybe someone in your family or friend is looking to do something in the industry and they don't know where to start, where to begin. We really hope this is a phenomenal resource for those folks. And yeah, Brad, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. And if you guys want to reach out to me, email. I might take a little bit to respond, because I have to filter through them. But yeah, I appreciate everything. I appreciate you asking me to do this. And
thank you, everyone, for being with us. And we hope to see you at our next Road to Success episode next month. I hope you have a great rest of your week and enjoy the weekend when it comes around. Have a good one, everyone.